Right, I want to talk about aspect ratio and how I decide which is best for my images. Well, good afternoon, and you find me out and about in the Lake District again, and we're fairly local to home. We have driven, but we've just driven down the lake a bit. We've parked at the Surprise View National Trust car park, and now we're having a wander in to Ashness Wood. And what I want to do on this particular video, as well as get hopefully some nice images, some woodland images. I am trying to push myself with woodlands. What I want to talk about is aspect ratio and how I decide what ratio I'm going to choose and what effect that does have on the final image. So yeah, because you'll have noticed if you've been following my videos for the last few months, I think now, I've been putting on how I've cropped the image in terms of aspect ratio. So my camera as a standard is a 3:2 aspect ratio. When it's in landscape mode, that's in whatever you wanted to do it. So you could say it's 3 inches along the top and 2 inches down. Often people will refer to 6x4, which is the same thing, 6 inches across, 4 inches down. But you'll have seen from the videos, often I put on what I've cropped it down to. So, and at the moment, one that particularly takes my fancy and I quite like, which is often a video ratio, which is 16:9. So that's 16 along the top and 9 down the side. Obviously, if you make that portrait mode, it would be 9:16. But I mean, I don't know whether it's the correct way of talking about it, but I tend to put the width over the height, and normally with landscape mode the width is higher. But occasionally I do other widths. I do 5:4, or if I'm doing a portrait mode one, I may do 4:5. Yeah, so we'll just have a wander around. It's a while since I've been to these woods, and we'll see what we can come up with, and then we'll talk in a bit more detail. So, yep, we'll catch up with you a little bit later. Right, well, we've come up with our first composition. It's one I've actually taken before, but I thought it was quite good to talk about the aspect ratios and that. And it's also a very different to when I last captured the image here. It's this tree that's in front of us, and now we've got very new green leaves. I believe it's an oak tree looking at the leaves, whereas last time it was autumn when I came before. So yeah, what we're going to do is we'll start recording on the stills camera. And one thing to point out yet again for those that haven't seen this before, the stills camera, the image that it takes when you're taking the still image is 3:2 or 6:4, whereas the video, when it's recording video, as you've seen it at the moment, is recorded in 16:9. So yeah, I mean 6x4 would be 12:8, 16:9, so it's slightly narrower, so we are losing the top and bottom a bit. And recently, as I've probably already mentioned, I'm quite keen on the I quite like the 16:9 ratio, aspect ratio. So you've got so we've got space at the bottom. We're not getting the full tree, we're just getting the sort of main trunk, and then this branch coming out here, and etc. So yeah, and what I've done is I've zoomed in to such a point that the edges that I want are right up to the edge of the frame, but there is space at the bottom and maybe a little bit at the top. So as a minimum, this is going to be a 16:9. We're going to crop a bit off the top and the bottom. We're going to stay with the width of the original one, and I may even look at I mean, there is a ratio that we've used in the online club, which is 17:6. May look at that. Or the other one is a 20:8, which is more of a letterbox, so losing a bit more of both the top and the bottom. And the whole point of this is to get the bit of the tree we're interested in and try and get rid of what we don't want, which is not important to the picture. So yeah, I mean, it's a bit difficult to say exactly what I'm going to do with this, but it's going to be certainly a landscape view. 6x4, there's going to be too much at the top and bottom, so we'll be going to at least a 19. Oh, 16:9. So many aspect ratios in my head, they're all getting mixed up. 16:9, and if there's still quite a bit of space, I may even crop it down to a 20:8 or that. I do stick to religiously stick to set ratios. I mean, some people, you see that they just alter the aspect ratio to what suits the image best. I mean, I don't have a problem with that. The problem with that can be if you're printing out or framing or whatever. So I tend to stick to a fixed ratio. So as I say, we've got 16:9. I have used what we came up when I joined the online camera club, which is 17:6. So as you can see, 16:9, 17:6, slightly wider, but top to bottom is even narrower. Now whether that would be too narrow, I don't know, that would lose bits we don't want, or a 20:8. When it goes to letterboxes, I do 20:8 or 24:8 or 32:8, depending on that. The longer ones tend to be when I've done a stitched panorama, but as I say, I do stick to fairly standard ratios. Getting narrower, we've talked about 6x4, sometimes we do 5x4 or 1x1. But what we'll do is, I've taken a couple of images as the light has changed. It's very changeable at the moment, and whichever one image is best, I will put it up on the video. But what I'll do, often I scan through the image, so give you a more close-up view and go through the image. I'll still do that, but then what I will do is I will put up the I'm not quite sure how I'm going to do this yet, but we'll put up the full image as taken on the camera eye, the 3x2, and then narrow it down and then show you on the video what difference it makes to the image, to putting it down to whatever the final ratio I choose is. So yeah, so that's that. I think I've rambled on a bit, maybe not as concise as I could be. Maybe we'll come up with some images where I can be a bit more concise. So yeah, we'll put that image up and we'll have a carry out with our wander on, and we'll see you a little bit later. Right, well, we've come up in another composition, and it's again certainly a subject I've captured before. I don't know whether you can see. I'll zoom in. In the centre there, there's what we'd call a dead tree. It looks pretty dead to me. I'm not quite sure why it's dead, but looks dead to me. And there's a tree over there that keeps groaning. Don't like it. So yeah, so that's the subject. If we come here, you'll see we've got the camera here, and we've got it quite high, because what we don't want to do is looking. I want to get as little sky as possible in the image, so I want to be almost looking down on the tree, but we can see it there. And what we'll do again, like we did before, we're going to view it through the stills camera, but this time we're in not landscape, portrait mode. So we've got, there's the image. So with, as I've said before, that the image here is slightly narrower than the actual image taken. So you can see at the edges here, we've got it framed by these trees. In the actual image, you can just see beyond the trees. But there is quite a bit of space at the top, and there's space at the top. And I must admit, a 2x3 or a 4x6, it's not a favourite ratio of mine. And fine for landscape, for portrait, I just find them a bit tall and thin. And as I've said, we've got quite a bit of space at the bottom. I think the tree is probably too tall to actually come down and create a square crop. But what I'm almost definite will do is instead of having it 2x3 or 6x4, we'll have it, or 4x6, because we do the, yeah, instead of having it the 4x6, we'll do it, chop a bit off the top and bottom and have it 4x5. Again, what I'm trying to do obviously is show you how I view an image and what I'm going to do with it in post. But what I am very much trying to do and get out of the habit of just pointing it, the camera at the subject, getting the image, and then completely cropping it and adjusting it in post. What I am doing here, as I've mentioned, I've framed the image width-wise from side to side as I actually want it. It's the top and bottom that's a little bit too much. So we'll just, so I am framing up exactly what I want in terms of the width or the height of an image, but occasionally we're getting to the point where in one aspect it's fine, but in another aspect there's just too much. So yeah, it's that's why I've thought at times of maybe getting a geared head where I can control easier than with a ball head, just to make those subtle movements. But yeah, I think it's good to get the image almost as you want it in camera, so you're not saying, oh, there's a bit much at the top, there's a bit much at the side, and you're cropping right down. I'm trying to get in the habit of, if I'm cropping, it's to change the aspect ratio. So as in here, it'll probably be a 4:5 rather than a 4:6, because that will show off the tree better. But yeah, I'm rabbiting on a bit. We've got to learn to do things, and I've got to learn to frame up the images better, so what I've got in camera is more or less what I want, and I'm not chopping off round the sides and the top and the bottom. I'm only altering the aspect ratio, and one of those, either the width or the height, depending on the way it's doing, is staying the same. So yeah, again, we'll put up the image on the video, we'll do it as it was shot and then as it looks with the altered aspect ratio, and we'll carry on through the woods, see what else we can find. And yeah, it's quite a pleasant afternoon, although it's a little bit cooler than it has been, having gone out and bought a suitable walking t-shirt thing that's better for when it's quite hot. I've come out today and actually got my fleece on the top of it because it is a little bit cooler. But yeah, we'll put that image up and we'll see you a little bit later. Right, well, we've come up with our third image, and you can see the image in front of you on the video. It's some new leaves that are, or plant tree that is pushing through the ground. I'm not quite sure exactly what sort it is, but I've done a handheld close-up image. Didn't need to put extension tubes on, could get close enough. If I went to 70mm on the 24-70, and focused in, so that's quite good. And what I always think is best with this, obviously getting the perfect framing with handheld is a little bit more difficult, but not that difficult on something like this. I just think this suits a square crop because it's fairly symmetrical from the centre, and I just think if you're showing what's either side, it's just a bit of a mess. So yeah, on that one we'll do it to square crop, and we'll put the image up so you can see it, and we'll carry on, see what else we can find, and we'll see you a little bit later. Right, we've come up with probably our last composition, last image, and we're just walking along this footpath because I thought it might make a nice leading line, and you can see there it's disappearing into the trees, but what I've decided to do, if I show you the back of the camera, hopefully you'll be able to see that all right. Let's just steady that on. Right there you can see, I don't know whether you can see, there's two lines down there because I've asked, oops, I took an image. Right, I've asked the camera to do a 1:1 crop or a square crop, so that's the sort of area that will actually appear on the picture, and I just felt that the footpath going up into the trees looked quite good. I just felt if we come up here and we can see the whole thing, there was just too much to the right of the footpath, or that it just didn't look balanced, whereas coming into the squarer thing, I just think it looks quite good. So yeah, so I mean, I have talked about it before, but most cameras have a way that you can dial in certain crops and it will show you what you're doing. I'm trying to remember what my camera does. If we go into the menu, aspect ratio, so we've got the 1:1, which is the one we've got there, and then we've got the 3:2, which is the full sensor. We've got a 4:3 and a 16:9. I mean, 16:9 I use quite a lot, although sometimes I do it mentally and then actually do the crop in post-processing. And it has 4:3, which isn't one I particularly like. I don't particularly often use 4:3. I tend to do 5:4. Not quite sure why, it's just a personal preference. So yeah, so we'll put that image up on the video again. We'll maybe show what the full image was and the cropped image, and then we'll start to head back to the van. There's one or two things I could do with getting done with at home. So, but if there's anything particular grabs me on the way back, we'll obviously capture that image. So yeah, anyway, whatever happens, we'll see you a little bit later. Right, well, we're back on the road, on the way to the van now, and yeah, it's been a good afternoon, although it's been relatively short. But yeah, I thought it would just be interesting to talk about aspect ratio and how I use it. Yeah, so we've got various images at using different ratios, a couple of square crops, a 4x5, and I'm not quite sure about the first one, possibly 16x9 or 20x8. So yeah, so it's been good, and yeah, it's been, the fleece hasn't come off today, considering the last video that I did, which comes up today, it goes live later on today, I was absolutely sweltering. That was and that was on Tuesday, and we're now Sunday, and yeah, although it's quite sunny, as you can see, it's glistening through the leaves and the trees and that, but it's relatively cool. So yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed it, and just to remind people, if you have enjoyed the video, please click the thumbs up. It does the channel great good. And yeah, and if you like what I'm doing, why not subscribe? We're slowly inching forward to my targets of hopefully by the end of next month, end of June, of hitting 1,000 subscribers. We've creeped over the 950 mark, so less than 50 to go. So yeah, if you do like what I'm doing, I would really appreciate a subscription. That would help. And yeah, the last video which went up, which was one where I talked about how I used a histogram except for metering, has done very, very well. Thank you for everybody who watched that, all those who liked it, and particularly those who commented. Which brings me to the fact I really do appreciate all comments. All comments are read and all comments are responded to, and yeah, the occasionally it does affect videos. The one I did about metering was following somebody asking how I actually do the metering for my images, etc. Occasionally I tweak things because of the comments, but it is a great encouragement when I do get comments. So yeah. And what next? Well, I'm not quite sure. Next Sunday, I believe it's next Sunday, there is a meetup organised by my online, or people within the online camera club, and across in Yorkshire. And I'm maybe going to do that. And again, that's the aim of that one, is bluebells and a mountain or hill called Roseberry Topping. So whether we go on that, I'm not quite sure. Whether we'll get out midweek as well to get another video before we go out next Sunday, I'm not quite sure. So we'll see how it goes. We'll come up with something, and if anybody's got any suggestions of what they'd like, anywhere they'd like me to go, or things they'd like to see me do, please let me know, and I will take those into account. But probably need to say now, as I have rambled a bit, we'll see you on the next video.